All right, so this is my first live. Hopefully everything works. All right, so basically I'm going to go through the process of screening through the markets. This is what I usually do on a almost daily basis. And I'm essentially looking for industries and sectors that make sense. So sectors that are growing, sectors that are seeing significant growth. And I have several ways to do that. This is just, a very quick overview. I use Finviz, which is really good for a first picture, of what's going on in the markets. But then, of course, I use a professional screener. I use stock rovers, and I go through the different sectors. So, yeah, just a quick overview on the map. There was something that really caught my attention. It was telecom was up today. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if I can show, even hide. So let me just move this. There we go. So telecom was up today, and I was quite surprised. I gotta say, Netflix up as well. T-Mobile. So this was interesting. And when I did some research, I think Ericsson released earnings Q1, and I think they had a really good report on I believe it was either the guidance or the past results. So yeah, and I think probably this was the reason why investors got really excited in telecom. I don't see any other reason why companies like Netflix are popping up by 4.8%. By the way, this is quite interesting. So if you have a look at Netflix, they are about to release earnings on Thursday. So this is this Thursday. Is that, after the market closes. And usually when I see the share price beating up prior to an earnings release, that's a sell on the news. So when I see momentum picking up, usually I will consider myself, but of course there are many exceptions. I have to go into the details of Netflix and really understand whether it's properly valued or not. But usually I will short the stock prior to an earnings if I see a bid up, like this one, 4.8% on absolutely no news, whilst the SPX is flat. It was relatively flat. By the way, this chart looks really good, to be honest. I was quite afraid that after the 10%, almost 10% increase that we've seen on Wednesday, was it the 9th? Yeah, the 9th. I was quite concerned that it will tank, back to the 49, 4800s, and it's holding up. So this is quite promising. And I believe the reason it's going sideways and not recovering back to, well, to be honest, I don't think it's going to recover back to the 6100s. It will be difficult if it goes back there over the next 84 days, because that's how long the pause on tariffs is. And of course, after that pause, I myself, I wouldn't be holding any shares on any stock, pretty much closed that end of the pause. In any case, this is the reason why I think stocks are going sideways, and it's because of the probes on pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. And I really don't know. Apparently, according to this article, that has been going on since the beginning of the month, under Section 232, of the Trade Expansion Act. And apparently, there is some investigation going on. I really hope they're not going to use the same method as to determine the tariffs that we have seen on April 2nd, because this formula, if they're going to use this formula for semiconductors, just think about the trade deficit on this sector compared to the imports. The tariff is going to be 100%. So I really hope that they won't use this. In fact, if we go back to an article from February 19th, by the way, February 19th, I was looking at the markets really closely. It was actually on February 20th, because can I do some colorful drawings on this chart? Let me show you why. So I was seeing this trend right here. And of course, there was an apparent resistance since since December. And I remember I was pretty much here. I was actually on holidays and I was looking at what's going on because I thought that if this will go up, will break that resistance level, I thought that the bull run would just continue. And it didn't. It broke and then. So that's why sometimes it's interesting to have a look at these charts because I don't know, it could tell you what investors are, what's the sentiment among the market. In any case, so the article back from February 20th was saying that, you could expect on semiconductors, that this is sector-wide tariff on the semiconductor industry. So they were saying that 25% should be, the first figure, and then it will go higher, substantially higher over the next 12 months. So I really don't know if this will be the case. I will be honest. I wouldn't. I'm not expecting to see anything more than 25%. In fact, Trump even mentioned 100% taxes on, was it Taiwan semiconductors? I think the article was about Taiwan semiconductors, and he was saying that the incentive for these guys to build in the U.S. was not to give them money, but to not make them pay tax, which is, it went up to 100%. And this is a quotation, by the way. So 25 to 100, I think that the taxes are going to be close to that 25% range. Also, in regards to the hot topic that we have, particularly with Apple, Amazon as well, it's, well, not just Amazon, it's Apple. And because I did some analysis this week on the Mark 7, and of course my mind is exploding with the information, but I think Apple was one of the ones that was most exposed to this, because if the 25% tax on semiconductors, which is what I believe will be, goes on top of the 20% tax that already exists, that's about 45%. So at 45%, that could create some trouble for companies like Apple that manufacture in China and bring stuff into the US. Of course, Amazon is going to be highly exposed due to the online platform, which generates most of sales, but not most of revenue, interestingly enough. So we'll see. So far, we have, I don't think, by the way, this press release is a coincidence that it's April 14th, yesterday. I don't think it's a coincidence. So NVIDIA is playing the game, and of course, they are making these announcements, to help the narrative of the administration that, yes, production is coming back to the US. Even though if you go into the details, particularly in this section, that's where they say that, the Blackwell chips have started production at Taiwan Semiconductor's plant in Phoenix, Arizona. And NVIDIA will be building a supercomputer manufacturing plant in Texas with Foxconn in Houston and with Wistron in Dallas. So those are two plants. And it says that mass production at these two plants is expected to ramp up in the next 12 to 15 months. I don't know. To me, it sounds too big of a coincidence to announce this type of news on this date, just after that infamous post saying that, from Trump saying that nobody will be exempt from these tariffs. So we'll see. Yeah, and this is the screener that I use. It's quite simple. If what we have here is the entire industries. Yeah, so I don't want to just look at sectors. I want a proper breakdown for all the industries. And I'm looking at daily returns, and then I have another screener where I use volume. So here I'm looking at daily volume, and I look at both actual volume and dollar volume. So I think both of them are important. Great. So I'm gonna look at first at the top movers, And yeah, I found very interesting that advertising agencies, entertainment, and broadcasting are, at the top, 3.2 to 2.5%. There, this is the entire industry. So within the industry, if I click, for example, on broadcasting, yeah, you're gonna be able to see the actual stocks that have driven the bull run during the day. And within the within the broadcasting industry, we have about, well, the top runner was this company. Fushi Media. All right, I know about them. But yeah, most of them I wouldn't. Football. This used to be a momentum play. Oh yeah, I remember it. Let's see how is it doing. Football. This looks like a momentum play back in Q4 last year. All right. Was this an acquisition play? I don't remember right now. But I do remember that I was seeing this stock back in December, yeah, or back in January, early January. So it does ring a bell to me. Now, of course, what I'm doing here, I'm just looking at stocks. I'm just trying to understand what's going on, trying to understand where the market is looking at right now. And, you can do a 5-day return to see the performance of certain stocks, during the last week, which, yeah, not bad. I mean, the worst performer was Newsmax. It does ring a bell to me as well. Was this an IPO? I think it was an IPO, no? Yeah, it was an IPO. Yeah. A recent IPO. Wow. There you go. 179%. Wow, that would be a. Do they have options? NMAX. They do. 223% implied volatility. Forget about that. Anyways, of course, that's not the analysis that I usually do. That these are just the upper layers of my process. I usually go into the fundamentals, into the 10Ks, 10Qs, and I try to understand what's going on with the company, as well as looking at other things like institutional buying, insider buying, and I also look at the options. I call it level 2 data. So NMAX, I'm just curious. Let's see how many people are shorting these through puts. Oh, people are bullish on this. Look at that. So this is options by interest. The top 2 contracts are buys. And the April 17th is mostly buys. All right. Okay. That's interesting. Good. So in any case, yeah, this is part of what I do. I'm not gonna. This is not gonna be a full market update. It's just the first live that I ever do. I just want to make sure that maybe you can hear me. Maybe things work in the live. Hopefully. So yeah, if I go back now to the industries, there you go. So these are the sectors, and what I'm gonna do is show all industries, and I'm gonna use my top movers, which is based on that average price within all the stocks within the industry. Where it moves. So of course, over the past 5 days, silver, precious metals, and gold have been going up. And I have to say that I lost the momentum wave on this. I mean, it sounds like I'm like all I'm doing is momentum, and it's not. I have a very diverse investment style. I don't just look at momentum, but my biggest returns have always come from momentum plays. So I tend to dip my feet into different types of investments. So silver and gold were really good considering the events that happened last week, and then of course after April 9th we have consumer electronics, semiconductors, and other auto manufacturers. Interestingly enough, they're up by 10%. No, 11% actually. That's interesting. How about today? Yeah, today they're fine as well. By the way, these are stocks that trade. Oh shit! I saw this company yesterday. It's up 22% as well. GGR. I think they're based in China. I think these guys are based in China. Holy shit! That looks good. That looks good. Should I do analysis on GGR? I think I looked at it very superficially. GGR. I remember looking at this stock. So revenue 300 million a year, and they had in cash about 117 million. Okay, with this is the issue. Yeah, yeah, I remember it. So, by the way, this was not scripted. This is properly an unscripted live. So cash from operating activities, they don't burn cash from operations. However, when we look at free cash flow, negative 115 million. Ouch. So from an operational perspective, the company is relatively okay. I wouldn't pop a bottle of champagne at these results, but they're relatively fine. But when we look at capital expenditures, I mean, this is the reason why the company looks awful, because you probably know free cash flow is operating cash flow minus capex. So when you see 124, 125 million in capex per year, I mean, do they have budget to expand this year? I mean, look at this. They have just 117 left in cash and short-term investments. Well, all of it is cash, which is good. But that's just a year of capex ahead. And I don't really think they will be able. Will they be able to raise more budget to fund operations? I don't know. I do remember briefly, so you can see how the lives are going to look like in the future. So I do this first passes and then I go into details for a specific stock. So GGR, if I go into the insights, just to make sure what the company does. So eliminating barriers, electric fuel adoption to bring swappable electric power within reach of every urban rider. Taiwan, yeah, so it's a Taiwan-based company. Maybe they operate in Southeast Asia. And yeah, it's a battery swapping company. I'm just curious to see what do they do actually. Go Goro. Let's see what they do. Images. All right, I get it. So they offer these batteries where people can replace their motorbikes with. I wonder if they actually make the motorbikes or they just supply the batteries. Well, that's an exercise for later on. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to add it to my analysis list. Yeah, so that's a watch list. Stock is there, and I'm going to do some analysis on the stock after the stream. I don't think I will do it now because I want to organize in a structured way how I do the analysis. Otherwise, it's going to be all over the place. I go usually through the SEC website, go GGR. I obtained it. Well, this is a 20F. It doesn't have a 10K because it's a foreign company. And then, of course, I will start analyzing, starting from the business overview and then going into other more interesting sections like the financials, the three big statements. Good. So yeah, that's my process. I just wanted to share it with you, and yeah, hopefully at some point I will have some people joining the stream. I don't even think that. Can I see? I don't think I can see if somebody has sent any messages. So if you did, I'm sorry. In any case, yeah, so I'm going to leave it for today. The conclusion is, for me, it's really simple. I'm just going to wait until we have the tariffs, the exact figure on semiconductors. And once we have that, I do think that this is going to rally. Maybe it's going to sell off first, because if it's 40%, yeah, that's going to be a bit difficult to swallow. But if the tariff is going to be 25, and if that 25 is not going to be stacked up on top of that 20% that already exists, I do think that the market is going to recover maybe up to the 5800s before that 84-day pause. And if the markets recover and there is a surplus of cash, that's usually when momentum plays on companies like this one, Kokoro, that's when usually this momentum plays could work out really well. Because when the markets are up, there is an excess supply of money, and people buy without really looking too much into the fundamentals or valuation ratios and stuff like that. In any case, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to do this on a regular basis. So see you in the next one.